We see in example 1 we have square root of negative 9. What I want to do is write this as the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 9, in a way similar to what we saw with simplifying square roots. If we notice, the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of negative 1 is I, so our answer is 3i. For example 2, slightly different, square root of negative 45. We can write that as the square root of negative 1, and then the largest perfect square that divides into that is 9. So square root of 9, and then the square root of 5. 9 times 5 is 45. So this becomes 3i, the 3 coming from the square root of 9, and the square root of negative 1 being I, so we have 3i root 5. For example 3, negative square root of negative 96. Now the negative that is on the outside of our radical doesn't actually affect our calculations any. So don't worry too much about that. But the square root of negative 96. Now let's see, what goes into 96? 12 does, that's not a perfect square of course. 96 divided by 16, okay, 16 and 6. So this is minus square root of negative 1, I'm going to go ahead and write this as my 3 radicals, 16 and then root 6. And 16 is the largest perfect square that will go into 96, and I know that because 6 doesn't have a perfect square that goes into it. So this would be negative 4i root 6 for the same reasons as number 2. All right, number 4, we have negative 48, and 16 also goes into that, so this would be root negative 1, 16 times 3. So this would be 4i root 3.